Welcome to NICU and Beyond, stories of inspiration and hope about NICU graduates and their families, the medical professionals who care for them, and the life transformations that often occur after a harrowing NICU stay. I am your host, Kelly Kelly. I am a NICU parent to Jackson, a micro-preemie born at 24 weeks, and Lauren, a late-term preemie born at 34 weeks. I am also the founder and executive director of Hand to Hold, a national nonprofit dedicated to providing education, resources, and peer-to-peer support for NICU and bereaved families. The night I went into preterm labor, my husband was wearing a baseball uniform. From an early age, baseball had played a big part in his life. He set up bases in his backyard as a kid, collected thousands of baseball cards, and cheered on his favorite team, the Detroit Tigers. When he moved to Austin in his 20s, he naturally decided to join a recreation league to stay connected to his favorite sport. When we first envisioned having kids, we anticipated that they would share our love for sports and excel easily in baseball, football, and track. But when our son was born at 24 weeks, weighing just 1.5 pounds, those dreams were shattered. How could a baby clinging to life on a respirator ever grow up to play sports? We were told early on he may have cerebral palsy, experience hearing and vision loss, and may be severely mentally delayed. Of course, our love did not depend on him being a baseball star, but we grieved the loss of what might have been. I so wish I could have had a crystal ball back then to show me visions of my son hitting his first home run, intercepting the ball in a key game against a wide receiver twice his height, and sailing over hurdles in track. He has done it all. Did it come naturally? No, it didn't. He had to work twice as hard as other kids his age. But with that hard work has come the pride of accomplishment and the understanding that nothing in life is out of reach if he never gives up. My son is not the only NICU graduate to accomplish great things on and off the baseball field. Joining us to share their inspirational story are Travis Eckert and his mom, Leslie. Leslie is a native Texan. She attended the University of Texas at Austin and majored in elementary education. Her interest in working with young children eventually led her to obtain her licensed professional counselor status and her own private practice. Travis is a NICU graduate. He attended Cassis O. Henry and Austin High School. He eventually made his way to Oregon State as a starting pitcher. In 2016, he was drafted by the Kansas City Royals. They're here today to share their stories as a NICU graduate parent and a preemie who never gave up. Welcome, Leslie. Thank you so much for joining us today for our support series for NICU families and for NICU and Beyond, the stories that we tell about our NICU graduates and what they go on to accomplish. Just so glad to have you today.
Well, thank you so much. It's an honor.
Well, I was hoping that you could start by telling us a little bit about Travis's early birth and the challenges that he faced as what we consider a late-term preemie. So tell us a little bit about Travis's arrival.
Well, I can remember the day just like it was yesterday. I got up, I started exercising, and I was having contractions, which I had been told were Braxton Hicks. And they kept getting more intense and closer together, and I finally called the doctor, and they said, well, go ahead and come on in. And I did, and when I got to the doctor's office, I had already dilated to 5. And they said, you're not going home today. We're going to have a baby. And I was about, I can't remember how many weeks, but still about 5 weeks out from Travis's due date. And they told me to expect baby probably not over 4 pounds. And so when Travis did arrive about 5 hours later, we were very pleasantly surprised that he was 5 pounds, 10 ounces, but he couldn't breathe. and they very swiftly swept him away from me after putting him in my arms. And there were so many doctors and nurses there, and lights and people, and they took him away, and they put him in a little incubator type contraption, and I didn't get to hold him, but I would get up all through the night and go check on him, and he just would pant instead of he wasn't able to take a breath. So we knew that there were some issues. We just didn't know what at that point.
What year was this? How old is Travis now?
Travis is 22. He'll be 23 on the 28th of this month, and this was 1993.
So we know that neonatal care has come a long way in the last 20 plus years. So I can only imagine how scary this must have been for you and for your husband, Will, and just not knowing. You have a older son, so you had a full-term healthy birth, and then to have this so unexpectedly happen, I know must have been very stressful and emotional for your family.
It was, and I was very thankful that our first son had been full term and I had been able to bring him home, so I knew what that was like. I kept asking the doctors about Travis when I would be able to hold him, when he would be able to take a breath. And nobody was able to give me a definite on that. All they would say was, we're waiting on the surfactant to be released from his, into his lungs, so that his lungs will be able to expand and sustain a breath. So that's what we were faced with. And then, so he spent about 14 days in the neonatal unit, and he finally got strong enough and was able to breathe well enough on his own. I guess the surfactant had started to be released, but he was having some issues with apnea. When he would go to sleep, he wouldn't breathe. He'd forget to breathe, so to speak. And the monitor that they sent us home with beeped. And, of course, it would wake him up so that he would remember to breathe. I guess that's how they lose a lot of these preemies. They have apnea, or they used to, and not know, that they needed to wake up. And I think that probably the death rate 40 years ago for these little preemies was a lot greater than it was even, when Travis was a baby. We were grateful that we were able to bring him home, and that we had that security, so to speak.
Absolutely. And I think it really is important just to reiterate, more than 20 years ago, providing surfactant at birth. I mean, that is what really improved outcomes for NICU babies, being able to provide surfactant, intubate these really tiny micro preemies, because without it, like you described, the lung is very sticky and not able to open fully, and the babies basically suffocate. I was at a meeting one time where they were describing this to us, and they gave us these really tiny straws and asked us to breathe through those straws, and it was very, very difficult. And so they were just trying to show an example of what it was like for our preemies that were struggling to breathe. But I do want to say again, even a short NICU stay can be very emotionally challenging, physically challenging. I mean, you had another baby at home, so you were, going back and forth from the hospital and taking care of your older son, and financially as well. I think, in that bond is still broken. You're not holding the baby, like you said, so it can be extremely challenging. So I always think it's so important for us not to downplay the experience of our late-term preemie families and the babies that are born late preterm, because they can also experience a lot of medical challenges even today.
You're exactly right. I remember going back and forth. I pumped my breast milk. I took it to the neonatal unit. And one of the most devastating things for me was having to go to the, I don't remember what they call this class, but I had to learn baby CPR in case Travis wouldn't wake up. And I just remember being very hormonal and bursting into tears and just wondering how I was going to manage all this. So it was definitely there was a huge emotional piece to it, And then when we did bring Travis home, everything was great. They did warn us that he could have some issues related to asthma, which he did as an infant and as a toddler. And we made several trips to the emergency room. He did use an albuterol inhaler for several years. And I remember the pediatrician, who was wonderful, everyone was wonderful, assured us that he would probably gradually grow out of the asthma, which he did. And I remember when Travis was born and so many doubts and fears that my husband and I both had, Dr. Seeker somehow managed to assure us that he was going to grow up and be strong, and he was going to be this wonderful athlete. He said, I just bet he'll be the best athlete in your family. And we just think about that today, and we just laugh. So it's really, really been a blessing.
Well, I would love for you to think about that, and as if you were speaking to a parent who's in the NICU right now, who's facing so many challenges and doubts about their baby. What would you want to say to them? What do you want them to know?
Not to give up and not to transfer, if you will, any type of doubt or fear to the child. Always let them know or instill in them that there's nothing that they won't be able to accomplish. Just to believe in themselves, and they can do anything.
I agree. I cannot agree more. I think that is perfectly stated, and I think, need to set our children up for success and challenge them and support them and believe in them, and also make sure they have all the medical care, the ongoing therapies, and everything they need to support them developmentally to ensure that they reach all of their goals. And that's our role as a parent. Well, Leslie, thank you so much for being part of this discussion. I wonder, is Travis there and ready yet?
He is here, and I will hand him over to you just as I'm starting to tear up.
Hey, Kelly.
Hi, Travis.
How are you?
I'm good. Welcome to our NICU and Beyond support series.
Oh, well, thank you for having me. I'm blessed.
You are. Well, I want to just start by asking you, did you know that you were a preemie? Did your parents talk to you about your early birth and some of the challenges you faced when you were born?
I've known as long as I can remember that I was born an entire month early, yeah.
And do you remember having some breathing issues as a young child?
Oh, yeah, I remember the issues for sure. I remember having to always use inhalers, and one time I had a big issue. I had a super bad asthma attack, and my mom had to rush me to the hospital, and it was kind of a big deal. And yeah, I definitely remember a lot of the issues.
Well, I know I also had asthma growing up, and I know it can be quite scary, and I was never athletic. But from what I know about you, you found that you were quite capable as an athlete pretty early on. So tell me about when you really became an athlete and when you began to enjoy sports.
Sports? I always enjoyed sports. I could never enjoy sports that require like long distance running because I was always just so bad at that at a young age, obviously because of the asthma. I think that's probably why baseball was such a good option for me, because it doesn't require, running for long periods of time, and especially being a pitcher, so I remember I struggled running track in like elementary school. Like we'd do track and field, and I would always struggle like running the mile, and could never do track in middle school. So yeah, I think baseball was a really good option for me.
And when did you first play baseball? How young were you?
Oh man, I've been playing baseball ever since I can remember. Probably since I was 3-4 years old.
Well, what are some of your favorite memories from your youth leagues? What do you remember about baseball and how it made you feel?
I just loved running around the bases, I guess. Throwing and hitting. I don't know. Baseball was always something I really enjoyed. I loved, just being on a baseball field, I love the way a baseball field looked, and being on that pitcher's mound and being, secluded out there on the mound. It's a fun feeling. But yeah, the youth days were really fun. I met a lot of good people that I still am friends with, and I'd say that's the biggest thing that I remembered from youth is just the people I played with and being able to keep in touch with them and see where they're going in life. And so I think relationships were probably the biggest thing.
I know you're an accomplished pitcher, but is that the position where you started, or did you play other positions as well?
When I was little, I played pretty much every position there is, and then as the older I got, the more I stuck with pitching. In high school, I was an outfielder and a pitcher, and then until my sophomore year in college is when I only was a pitcher, is when I focused on pitching only, and then I think it worked out for me.
I think it did. Well, tell us a little about your college baseball career. Who did you play for, and what were some of the highlights from your college career?
I started off at Temple College in Temple, Texas, just about 45 minutes north of Austin, where I grew up. And then after that, I pretty much just moved out to Washington blind because I got recruited by a team out there, and I was hoping to get recruited by some of the teams out in the Northwest, some of the bigger schools. So I went to Temple, a junior college, and then in Washington I was at Clark College, which was another junior college. And then out of Clark College, I got recruited by Oregon State University, the Beavers, and that's where I finished up my next 2 years of college baseball. And that's where I got drafted by the Kansas City Royals out of Oregon State.
Well, tell us, what is the draft like? Tell me, what were you, I don't know much about a baseball draft, so were you anxious? Did you know what round you would go? What were you hoping for?
So I got drafted twice. I got drafted my junior year, and during the whole draft process, I had, teams contacting me. Will you sign a contract? Will you play for us if we draft you? And at that time, my junior year, I was pretty set on returning for my senior season to get closer to finishing school and just, develop a little more as a pitcher. And so my whole junior year during the draft process, I knew I was not going to ever accept a contract. I knew I was going to return for my senior year, which was interesting because I still got drafted, even though I told pretty much every team that I was going to return for my senior year. And then senior year rolls along, and I do better. I have a better season, and then I get drafted higher. And, it was Kansas City, and here I am now.
So you're playing for the Kansas City Royals. So what has that been like so far in your training with them? And when does your season start? Tell us a little bit about what you're expecting this year.
Well, I'm in the minor leagues right now. I just got done with rookie ball. My first rookie season was really good. Actually, our team almost won our whole league. We came in first in our division in that league, and it was just a really successful year. And our next season starts, I believe, in March. And I believe I'm going to be in Lexington, Kentucky. It's going to be my first spring training, which is really exciting. I will be going to spring training in February. We'll train there for, I think, about a month or so, and then we'll head off. There's so many players that play for the Kansas City Royals in the minor leagues, and so we'll all head off to our affiliates, and I think I'm going to be in Lexington, Kentucky after about a month of training in Surprise, Arizona, where the Royals off-season facility is. And my goal is to move up a level each year. So I'm trying to get to the big stage on Major Leagues, what you see on TV. That's the goal.
I know we will see you there. We talk about preemie power all the time and share stories of amazing preemies that go on to do amazing things. So I believe in you, and I'm just so glad, Travis, that you didn't let your prematurity and the breathing issues and the asthma hold you back. You found the sport that you were good at. You found that quiet space on the mound that really spoke to you. and you have pursued your dream. And I love the fact that, you said you moved blindly, not knowing anyone and not knowing what would come of that, but you really took a leap of faith. I respect that so much, following your dream, and wish you so much luck, and hope that you just continue to grow and prosper and really inspire others. So that's what I wanted to end with. Now, if you had any words of encouragement for these babies who are born so tiny and sick. Now, 20 years, you're 22, turning 23. Neonatology has come a long way, and we're now saving babies that weigh less than a pound. And they have lots of struggles and have to, overcome a lot to just do some of the most simple things. So inspire those young kids that may love baseball. What would you tell them?
Well, I would just say, once you grow up and you look back at your neonatal development, you've already overcame that. So, if you can overcome that, I think you can do just about anything. Don't let the fact that you were born early hold you back from doing whatever it is you want to do in life. Have the mindset that you can do whatever you want, and just don't let anyone or anything prevent you from going places, doing whatever it is you want to do in life. Just go out there, and if you want something, you go get it.
Well said, well stated. I appreciate that so much. Well, Travis and Leslie, I just want to thank you both again for being a part of our podcast. I think that you both provided a lot of inspiration and hope, not only for the NICU parents, but also our preemies who have to overcome a lot of challenges. But as Travis so eloquently stated, if you can overcome the challenges of being born preterm and having any kind of healthcare needs early on, there's very little that can stop you in the future. So thank you so much for making the time to be with us. I truly appreciate you both.
Oh, it's no problem, Kelly. Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
Well, good luck this year. I can't wait to see you play.
Yeah, keep up with us. All right.
Go Royals! Leslie, thank you again so much for joining our podcast. It was just so inspirational to have you here.
Thank you so much, Kelly, for asking me. I really, really enjoyed being a part of it.
Well, I celebrate with you all of Travis's accomplishments and all the accomplishments to come. I told him I can't wait to see him play, so I know you're one proud mama.
Oh, thanks so much. Go Royals!
Go Royals! Thank you. Our quote of the day is perfect for this topic. Love is the most important thing in the world, but baseball is pretty good too. Yogi Berra. In order for NICU babies to thrive after discharge, they need smart, informed parents who understand their needs and are emotionally and physically capable of caring for a medically fragile child. Peer-to-peer support is an effective tool for helping parents navigate their NICU stay. Support from a caring and informed NICU graduate parent helps a new family feel more capable, confident, and ready to face the journey ahead. To request support, volunteer, or donate, please visit our website at handtohold.org.